My name is Sylvia Alvarez, 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, I collapsed at my desk at 11:47 p.m. hemorrhagic stroke. The doctors said I was 48 hours from permanent brain damage or death. My mother got the call at 7 a.m. By 9:30, she was at the hospital. By 3 p.m., she decided her other daughter's wedding venue tour in Hawaii couldn't wait. By 6:45 p.m., my entire family was on a plane to Honolulu. I spent 7 days in the ICU, alone, or so I thought. When I finally woke up, the nurse handed me the visitor log. One name appeared every single night, a name I'd never heard before. A man who sat outside my glass door for 3 hours the first night, just watching. A man who paid my entire $139,000 bill in cash and asked the hospital to keep his identity secret. My mother's face when she saw that name told me everything she'd hidden for 32 years. Every Sunday at 6 p.m., my phone rings. Not because my mother misses me, not because she wants to hear about my week. No. Sunday at 6 p.m. is when Vivian Alvarez calls to update me on expenses. Sylvia, honey, she said, her voice carrying that particular sweetness she reserves for requests. Your father's truck needs new tires. That's $480. And Brittany's wedding planner needs the deposit. $2,200. Oh, and the electricity bill was higher this month. Can you send an extra 300? I did the math while she talked. 480 plus 2,200 plus 300. That's $2,980 on top of the $800 I already send every month. Mom, that's almost $3,000. I just sent you money last week for Sylvia. Her voice sharpened. Just slightly. Just enough. You don't have a family to support. No husband, no children. Brittany is getting married. She needs help. You make good money. What else are you spending it on? I wanted to say, my rent, my student loans, my savings for a house I'll probably never buy because I keep emptying my account for you. But I didn't. I never do. I'll transfer it tomorrow, I said. Tonight would be better. The tire shop closes early on Mondays. After she hung up, I opened the Excel file I've kept since I was 25. 7 years of records. Every dollar I've sent home. Every emergency that wasn't. Every loan that was never repaid. I scrolled to the bottom. Total $187,400. $187,400. I earn $126,000 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $94,000. I've been sending home an average of $26,771 per year. That's 21% of my take-home income. For 7 years, I scrolled through the reason column. Brittany's car payment, Brittany's credit card, Brittany's apartment deposit, Brittany's vacation, Brittany's dental work, Brittany's designer bag she needed for a job interview. 90% of the entries had my sister's name attached. My phone buzzed. A text from Brittany. A photo of a wedding dress. Strapless, lace. Probably more expensive than my first car. Isn't it gorgeous? It's $4,800. Mom said you'd help with the dress. Also, I need $25,000 for the wedding fund. You're the maid of honor, so you should contribute more than anyone. $25,000. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, I'll see what I can do. She replied with a heart emoji. You're going to love Hawaii, my mother said on the phone. The resort has an infinity pool. Brittany found it on Instagram. I can't go, Mom. The IPO is in 3 weeks. I can't leave. Oh, Sylvia, you always have an excuse. Work, work, work. You know Brittany wanted you there to help choose the venue. I thought this was a venue scouting trip, not the actual wedding. It is, but Brittany needs opinions. And since you're not coming, the least you can do is pay for the trip. Your father and I certainly can't afford it. The least I could do. The flight was $2,400 for 3 people. The resort was $3,200 for 7 nights. Tours and meals would add another $2,600. Total, $8,200. I'll transfer it tonight, I said. Thank you, honey. You know how much this means to Brittany. I knew. After the transfer, I checked my bank account. Balance, $4,230. 18 days until the IPO. 18 days until my stock options vested. 18 days until I'd finally have financial breathing room. I just needed to survive 18 more days. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror before bed, doing something I'd done 1,000 times before. Comparing. I'm 5'9". My mother is 5'4". My father is 5'6". Brittany is 5'5". I have blue eyes. My mother has brown eyes. My father has brown eyes. Brittany has brown eyes. I have light brown hair that turns almost blonde in summer. Everyone else in my family has dark hair, nearly black. When I was 16, I asked my mother why I looked so different. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. What do you mean by that, Sylvia? What exactly are you implying? I never asked again. My phone buzzed. An email from Reed, my CEO. Sylvia, timeline accelerated. IPO moved to November 28th. I need the operations audit complete by the 15th. You're the only one I trust with this. Reed, November 28th. That was 2 weeks earlier than planned. I closed my eyes. 18 days just became 11. The next 6 weeks blurred into fluorescent lights and cold coffee. Our CFO quit without notice 3 weeks before the IPO. Reed dumped his entire workload on me. Investor packages, compliance documents, operations audits, due diligence reports. I worked 16 hours a day, sometimes 18. I slept 4 hours a night, sometimes 3. I ate protein bars at my desk because I didn't have time to walk to the kitchen. My doctor had warned me about my blood pressure at my last physical. You need to slow down, Ms. Alvarez. Your numbers are concerning for someone your age. I didn't slow down. The IPO was worth $12 million in funding. 40 employees depended on this deal going through. My stock options would vest at $280,000 if we succeeded. I just needed to hold on. Reed had sent another email. Sylvia, I know this is a lot, but if we miss this window, we lose everything. You're the only one I trust to handle this. Reed. I typed my reply. On it. My head was pounding. It had been pounding for 3 days. I figured it was just tension, stress, Dehydration. I reached for my water bottle. My hand missed. I tried again. My fingers wouldn't cooperate. The words on my screen started to swim. The letters rearranged themselves into patterns that made no sense. I thought, I need to call someone. I reached for my phone. My arm didn't move. The last thing I saw was my laptop screen dimming, the cursor blinking on an unfinished sentence. Then the floor rushing up to meet me. Then nothing. The security guard found me at 11:52 p.m. through the hallway camera. By 12:03 a.m., I was in an ambulance. By 1:15 a.m., I was in the emergency room at St. David's Medical Center. Diagnosis: hemorrhagic stroke. The ER doctor called my emergency contact at 1:15 a.m. No answer. Again at 1:47 a.m. No answer. Again at 2:30 a.m. No answer. Again at 5:45 a.m. No answer. At 7 a.m. my mother finally picked up. I don't remember the ambulance. I don't remember the ER. I don't remember being intubated or scanned or poked or prodded. I only know what the nurses told me later. Room 412, fourth floor, intensive care unit. Glass walls facing the hallway. Monitors beeping in steady rhythm. Fluorescent lights that never turned off. My phone sat on the bedside table. 4 missed calls from the hospital to my mother. No calls back. The nurse's note from that night read, Patient Alvarez. Sylvia M. Emergency contact notified at 0700. Family confirmed arrival ETA 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. My parents live in Round Rock. That's a 25-minute drive. They arrived at 9:30 a.m. My mother, my father, my sister. They stayed for 33 minutes. I was unconscious, so I didn't see any of this. But the hospital security footage showed everything, and Amanda, the ICU nurse, told me the rest. Brittany didn't come into my room. She sat in the hallway, scrolling through her phone, complaining that the hospital smell makes me nauseous. My father stood in the corridor making phone calls. To whom, I still don't know. My mother spoke with Dr. Rodriguez for 11 minutes. Then she came into my room, looked at me, eyes closed, tubes everywhere, and checked her watch. At 10:03 a.m. they left. 33 minutes. Amanda told me what happened next because she overheard my mother on the phone in the hallway before they left. The doctor said she's stable, my mother said to someone, probably Brittany. Stable means not dying right now, right? We can still make the flight. The tickets are non-refundable. Sylvia paid for them. A pause. I know. But Brittany needs this trip. The wedding is in 3 weeks. If we don't scout the venues now, when will we? Sylvia will understand. She's always been the responsible one. Stable. The doctor had actually said, stable but critical. We need to monitor her for 72 hours minimum. There's still risk of secondary complications. My mother heard stable. She ignored the rest. At 3:15 p.m., while I lay unconscious in room 412, my mother left me a voicemail. I listened to it 5 days later when I finally woke up. 14 seconds long. Sylvia, honey, the doctor said you're stable. Your father and I and Brittany have to go to Hawaii like we planned. The tickets are non-refundable. I'll call the hospital every day to check on you. You just rest, okay? Brittany needs me for this trip. We'll be back next week. 14 seconds. She didn't say, I love you. She didn't say, I'm worried about you. She said, Brittany needs me. And then she hung up. At 6:38 p.m., while I was being prepped for additional scans because my blood pressure was dropping, Brittany posted an Instagram story, a photo of the three of them at the Austin airport. Gate 24, Hawaiian Airlines Flight 2891 to Honolulu. My mother smiling. My father looking tired. Brittany in the middle, flashing a peace sign. Caption: Hawaii, here we come. 127 people viewed that story in the first hour, including one person none of them expected. At 8 p.m., a man walked into St. David's Medical Center. He approached the front desk. ICU room 412, he said. Sylvia Alvarez. The receptionist checked the system. Are you family, sir? Yes. Your name? Walter Kendrick. He was given a visitor badge. He took the elevator to the fourth floor. He walked down the hallway until he reached room 412. Then he stopped. He didn't knock. He didn't ask to go in. He didn't call for a nurse. He just stood there, outside the glass door, looking in, for 3 hours. The ICU hallway camera recorded everything. 8 p.m. A man in a gray suit, silver hair, approximately 60 years old, stops outside room 412. 8:15 p.m. Still standing, hasn't moved. 8:47 p.m. A nurse approaches. He shakes his head. She walks away. 9:30 p.m. Still standing. His hands are in his pockets. His eyes never leave the glass. 10:15 p.m. He sits down in the hallway chair, still watching. 11 p.m. He stands again, presses his palm against the glass, stays there for 4 minutes. 11:12 p.m. He walks away. 3 hours and 12 minutes. Amanda Reeves, the night nurse, 34 years old, 11 years on the job, was the one who approached him at 8:47. Sir, can I help you? Do you need to go inside? He shook his head. No, I just want to make sure she's not alone. Are you family? He paused. Something passed across his face. Pain, maybe, or guilt, or both. Yes, he said quietly. I'm family. Amanda asked if he wanted to sign the visitor log. He nodded. She handed him the iPad. He wrote, Walter Kendrick. Then he went back to standing outside the glass door. Amanda told me later, I've been doing this for 11 years. I've seen every kind of family, but I've never seen anyone stand outside a glass door for 3 hours like they were afraid they didn't deserve to go in. He came back the next night, 7:45 p.m., same gray suit, same silver hair. This time he brought a laptop. He sat in the hallway chair and worked. A MacBook Pro, screen angled away from the corridor. Every few minutes, he'd look up at room 412, then back to his screen. At 9:30 p.m., he closed the laptop. He stood up. He walked to the door. This time, he went inside. Amanda was at the nurse's station. She watched him through the glass. He pulled the visitor chair close to my bed. He sat down. He didn't touch me. He just looked at my face for a long time. Then he said something. Amanda couldn't hear through the glass, but she saw his lips move. Later, she asked him what he'd said. He just smiled, a sad, broken smile, and shook his head. He stayed for 47 minutes. Then he left. Amanda made a note in my file. Visitor, Walter Kendrick, stated my daughter when entering. Verify relationship with patient family. She tried calling my mother to verify. No answer. She tried again. No answer. She tried a third time. Voicemail. Amanda pulled up my visitor log that night. November 18th. Walter Kendrick. 8 p.m. to 11:12 p.m. November 19th. Walter Kendrick. 7:45 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. No other names. No Vivian Alvarez. No Gilbert Alvarez. No Brittany Alvarez. Just Walter Kendrick. A man none of us had ever heard of. A man who claimed to be my father. Amanda stared at the screen for a long time. I've seen a lot of families fall apart in hospitals, she told me later. People show you who they really are when someone they love is dying. But your family? They didn't even show up. And this stranger, this man who stood outside your door like he was terrified to come in, he was there every single night. She paused. I didn't know who he was to you, but I knew one thing. He cared. Whatever else was true, that man cared. On the morning of November 20th, Dr. Rodriguez ordered a new CT scan. Something wasn't right. My vitals were stable, but not improving. My brain swelling should have been decreasing. It wasn't. By 9:30 a.m., he had the results. Myocarditis, secondary inflammation of the heart muscle, a complication of the stroke triggered by the massive stress response in my body. If we don't operate within 48 hours, Dr. Rodriguez told Amanda, she has a 40% chance of not waking up at all. 48 hours. The surgery would cost $45,000. They needed family consent. Amanda called my mother's number for the seventh time since I'd been admitted. This time, someone answered. Hello? My mother's voice, cheerful, relaxed. In the background, waves, music, the clink of glasses. Mrs. Alvarez, this is Amanda Reeves, ICU nurse at St. David's Medical Center. I'm calling about your daughter Sylvia. Oh, yes. How is she? Still stable? Ma'am, there's been a complication. She needs emergency surgery. The doctors found secondary inflammation around her heart. If we don't operate within 48 hours, surgery? My mother's voice sharpened. What kind of surgery? How much? It's a cardiac procedure. The estimated cost is $45,000. Silence. Then, 45,000? Who's paying for that? Does her insurance cover it? In the background, I could hear Brittany yelling, Mom, the surf instructor is here. Mrs. Alvarez, Amanda said carefully, we need a family member to sign the consent form, and we need a $15,000 deposit before 6 p.m. today to schedule the surgery. More silence. Then, can you email me the form? I'll sign it electronically. As for the money, send the bill to Sylvia's address. She makes good money. She can handle it. Amanda told me she gripped the phone so hard her knuckles turned white. Ma'am, Your daughter is in a coma. She can't pay anything right now. She has savings. I'm sure she does. Look, I can't exactly fly back right now. The return tickets aren't until Monday. Just do what you need to do. Sylvia's always been good at figuring things out. The line went dead. 12 miles from the hospital, in a corner office on the 30th floor of 100 Congress Avenue, Walter Kendrick received a phone call. It was from Reed Morrison, CEO of Evergrid Energy. Mr. Kendrick, I wanted to update you on the situation. Sylvia Alvarez, our director of operations. She's still in the ICU. The hospital is saying she needs emergency surgery. Something about her heart. Walter's hand tightened on the phone. How much? I'm sorry? The surgery. How much does it cost? I I don't know exactly. The hospital is asking for a deposit. Her family is apparently in Hawaii and can't read. Yes, sir. I'll handle it. Don't mention this to anyone. Sir, I don't understand. You don't need to understand. Just focus on the IPO. I'll take care of Sylvia. He hung up. Then he made another call. Patricia Dunn had worked in hospital billing for 16 years. She'd seen every payment scenario imaginable: insurance disputes, payment plans, bankruptcies, crowdfunding campaigns, even a few cash briefcases from people who definitely didn't want paper trails. But she'd never seen anything like this. At 3:30 p.m., her computer pinged with an incoming wire transfer. $139,000 from WBK Holdings LLC to St. David's Medical Center. Memo: full payment, patient Sylvia Alvarez, room 412. Anonymous donor. Do not disclose identity to patient or family. $139,000. $94,000 for ICU care. $45,000 for surgery. Paid in full. Patricia stared at the screen. She pulled up Sylvia Alvarez's file. Emergency contact, Vivian Alvarez. She looked at the payment source. WBK Holdings LLC. Not Vivian. Someone else. She picked up the phone and called the number attached to the wire transfer. A man answered. Deep voice. Calm. This is Walter Kendrick. Mr. Kendrick, this is Patricia Dunn from St. David's Billing Department. I'm calling to confirm your payment for patient Sylvia Alvarez. It's confirmed. The funds have cleared. Sir, I need to verify your relationship to the patient for our records. A pause. Family member. Can you be more specific? Are you her? I'm her father. Patricia looked at the file again. Emergency contact. Vivian Alvarez. Mother. Gilbert Alvarez. Father. Sir, our records show the patient's father is Gilbert Alvarez. Another pause. Longer this time. There's more than one kind of father, Miss Dunn. Please process the payment and ensure Miss Alvarez receives the surgery she needs. I don't want her to know who paid. Not yet. The line went dead. Patricia sat back in her chair. She looked at the payment confirmation on her screen. Then she looked out her window, toward the ICU wing. In the hallway outside room 412, she could see a man sitting alone. Silver hair, gray suit. Laptop closed on his lap, eyes fixed on the glass door. That man, she murmured to herself, is the only family that girl has. At 5:45 p.m. Austin time, my mother finally sent the signed consent form. Attached was a brief message. I've signed the form. Please note that I expect the insurance to cover most of this. If there's any remaining balance, please send the bill to my daughter Sylvia Alvarez directly at her Austin address. She makes good money. Vivian Alvarez. She didn't ask about the surgery. She didn't ask about my chances. She just assumed I would pay my own medical bills while unconscious, while possibly dying. Patricia read the email twice. Then she looked at the payment confirmation already in the system. $139,000, paid in full, by someone who wanted to remain anonymous. She hit reply and typed, Mrs. Alvarez, the account has been settled in full. No balance remains. She didn't explain further. Let Vivian wonder. I don't remember being wheeled into surgery. I don't remember the anesthesia, the incision, the 4 hours and 23 minutes I spent on the table while Dr. Samuel Grant worked to repair the damage. But I know who was there. Walter Kendrick sat in the surgical waiting room from 6:45 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. He didn't read. He didn't work. He didn't check his phone. He just sat there, holding something in his hand. Amanda walked past the waiting room on her break. She saw him there, alone, staring at the wall. She saw what he was holding, a photograph, old, faded at the edges. A woman with dark hair, maybe mid-20s, laughing at something off camera. He was running his thumb across the edge of the photo over and over like a prayer. Dr. Grant came out at 11:23 a.m. The surgery was successful. She's stable. She should wake up within 24 to 48 hours. Walter stood up. For a moment, he looked like he might collapse. Thank you, he said. His voice cracked on the second word. Are you family? Yes. Would you like to see her in recovery? Walter hesitated. No, not, not yet. She should see her family first when she wakes up. Dr. Grant looked confused. Sir, you are family. Walter smiled. That same broken smile Amanda had seen before. Not the kind she knows about. He picked up his coat, put the photograph back in his wallet, and walked out of the hospital. He didn't stay to see me wake up. I opened my eyes. White ceiling, fluorescent lights, the steady beep of monitors. I was alive. I turned my head. Slowly, everything hurt, and looked at the chair beside my bed. Empty. No flowers, no cards, no balloons with get well soon, no family members sleeping in uncomfortable positions, just an empty chair. And on the bedside table, a glass of water, full. A blanket folded neatly at the foot of my bed in a crisp military style. And a book I'd never seen before. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, hardcover. Old but well maintained. I didn't own this book. I'd never read Marcus Aurelius. Where did it come from? Amanda came in to check my vitals. Ms. Alvarez, you're awake. She smiled, genuine relief. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, I croaked. How long was I out? 5 days. You had a stroke, then surgery for a heart complication, but you pulled through. You're going to be okay. 5 days. Where's my family? Amanda's smile flickered. Your family is. They're in Hawaii. They'll be back on Monday. Hawaii. I remembered vaguely that there was a trip. Brittany's wedding venue scouting. I'd paid for it. $8,200. They didn't come back? Amanda busied herself with my IV line. Your mother called the hospital a few times. She signed the consent forms electronically. Called? Yes. But didn't come? No. I stared at the ceiling. The water, I said suddenly. The blanket. The book. Where did those come from? Amanda paused. There was a man. He came every night while you were unconscious. What man? He said he was your father. My father is in Hawaii. Amanda set down the blood pressure cuff. Ms. Alvarez. This man wasn't Gilbert Alvarez. He gave a different name. He came every single night. He stayed for hours. The first night, he stood outside your door for over 3 hours without coming in, just watching through the glass. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. What was his name? Amanda picked up the iPad from the nurse's station and handed it to me. He signed the visitor log every night. You can see for yourself. I took the iPad with trembling hands. I scrolled through the entries. November 18th, Walter Kendrick, 8 p.m. to 11:12 p.m. November 19th, Walter Kendrick, 7:45 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. November 20th, Walter Kendrick, 7:30 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. November 21st, Walter Kendrick, 7 p.m. to 11:45 p.m. No other names. No Vivian. No Gilbert. No Brittany. Just Walter Kendrick. Every single night. Who is Walter Kendrick? I whispered. Amanda looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. He said he's your father. I borrowed Amanda's laptop. My hands were still weak, but I managed to type. Walter Kendrick, Austin, Texas. The results loaded, and my heart stopped. Walter Brennan Kendrick, age 63, CEO and founder, Kendrick Capital Partners, private equity firm, assets under management, $2.1 billion. There was a photo, silver hair, blue eyes, tall, maybe 5'10", standing in front of a glass-walled office building, arms crossed, slight smile. I looked at that photo for a long time. Blue eyes. I have blue eyes. My mother has brown eyes. My father has brown eyes. My sister has brown eyes. Where do your blue eyes come from, Sylvia? I'd asked my mother once when I was 16. Your grandmother's side, she'd snap. Why are you asking such strange questions? My grandmother died before I was born. I'd never seen a photo of her. I looked at Walter Kendrick's eyes on the screen. They were the exact same shade as mine. I kept searching. Kendrick Foundation Scholarship. The results showed a website. Elegant, professional, listing the foundation's various programs. I clicked on Higher Education Scholarships, a list of recipients by year. I scrolled down. 2012. Sylvia M. Alvarez, University of Texas at Austin. 2013. Sylvia M. Alvarez, University of Texas at Austin. 2014. Sylvia M. Alvarez, University of Texas at Austin. 2016. Sylvia M. Alvarez, Macomb School of Business, MBA program. I stared at my own name. The scholarship. The anonymous scholarship I received in my sophomore year. The one that paid for my last 2 years of undergrad and my entire MBA. The one that came out of nowhere, no interview required, no essay, no explanation. The one my mother always got angry about. You think you're so special because you got that scholarship, she'd say. Don't let it go to your head. You got lucky. That's all. Lucky. It wasn't luck. It was Walter Kendrick. I looked at the book on my bedside table, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I opened the cover. On the first page, in neat handwriting, to my daughter, I hope one day you'll understand why I stayed away. WK. The laptop blurred. I realized I was crying. I called Reed Morrison. Reed, I need to know something. Who's the largest investor in Evergrid? Sylvia? You're awake? Oh, thank God. We've been so worried. Reed, the investor. Who is it? He hesitated. Why do you want to know? Kendrick Capital. They invested in Evergrid, didn't they? Silence. Sylvia, how did you... When did they invest? 2021, Series A, $1.8 million. 2021, the year I joined Evergrid. Did Walter Kendrick request anything specific when he invested? Another silence. Longer. Sylvia, I don't understand why you're asking this. Did he? Reed sighed. He asked to remain anonymous. He asked that his name never be mentioned to employees. And he asked to be informed if anything happened to you. If anything happened to me. Yes. He called me the day you collapsed. Before I even knew. Before the ambulance arrived. He asked which hospital you were being taken to. I closed my eyes. He knew before you did. Yes. Sylvia? Who is this man? Why does he care so much about you? I looked at the book in my lap, at the handwriting on the first page, to my daughter. I think, I said slowly, he's my father. Day 7. My mother walked into the hospital lobby at 11:30 a.m. on Monday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but Amanda told me everything, and the security cameras captured the rest. Vivian Alvarez was tan, golden brown from 7 days of Hawaiian sun. She was wearing a floral dress and sandals. She carried a Macy's duty-free bag in one hand. She walked straight to the front desk. I'm here for my daughter, Sylvia Alvarez. Room 412. I need to sign the discharge papers. The receptionist, a young woman named Carmen, pulled up my file. Of course, Mrs. Alvarez. Let me check the account status first. Account status? What do you mean? The billing. I need to see if there's any remaining balance before discharge. My mother's eyes narrowed. Just send the bill to Sylvia's address. She can handle it. Carmen looked at the screen. Ma'am, the account has been settled in full. There's no remaining balance. What do you mean settled? By insurance? No, ma'am. A family member made a direct payment. $139,000. My mother went very still. What family member? Who paid? I'm not authorized to disclose that information, ma'am. The donor requested anonymity. Donor? No one in my family has that kind of money. Let me see the visitor log. Who's been coming to see my daughter? Carmen hesitated, then handed her the iPad. My mother scrolled through. November 18th, Walter Kendrick. November 19th, Walter Kendrick. November 20th, Walter Kendrick. November 21st, Walter Kendrick. November 22nd, Walter Kendrick. November 23rd, Walter Kendrick. No Vivian Alvarez. No Gilbert Alvarez. No Brittany Alvarez. My mother's face changed. Carmen told me later. It was like watching someone see a ghost. All the color drained out of her. The iPad fell right out of her hands and hit the floor. She didn't pick it up. She just stood there, staring at nothing. Walter Kendrick, my mother whispered. Ma'am, are you all right? My mother didn't answer. She knew that name. My mother walked into the ICU wing like she was walking to her own execution. Her footsteps were slow. Her hands were shaking. She turned the corner and stopped. 20 feet away, sitting in the hallway chair outside room 412, was Walter Kendrick. He looked up. Their eyes met. 32 years. That's how long it had been since they'd seen each other. He stood up slowly, not moving toward her, just standing there, waiting. Walter, my mother said. Her voice was barely a whisper. He didn't respond for a long moment. Then he spoke. Low, controlled, every word precise. 32 years, Vivian. 32 years my daughter thought she wasn't loved. 32 years I stood outside the glass, looking in. Every night this week I was here, watching over her, paying her bills, making sure she wasn't alone. He took one step forward. And where were you? My mother's mouth opened, closed. No words came out. You were in Hawaii, Walter said, taking a vacation your daughter paid for, while she was dying in this room. Walter, I didn't know. You knew enough. The hospital called you. The nurses called you. You knew she needed surgery. You knew she needed family. And you chose Hawaii. His voice never rose. It didn't need to. 32 years I stayed away because I thought it was better for her. Because I thought she had a family who loved her. Because I didn't want to disrupt her life with the truth. He looked at my mother with something beyond anger, beyond hurt, disgust. I was wrong. She never had a family. She had parasites. My mother's face crumpled. Walter, please. I'm done staying away, he said. I'm done standing outside the glass. Today I walk through the door. He turned and walked toward my room. My mother stood alone in the hallway, frozen. I was sitting up in bed when my mother burst through the door. She looked terrible. Tan, but terrible. Eyes wild, hands trembling. Sylvia, we need to talk. I looked past her at the glass door. In the hallway, I could see a man watching. Silver hair, blue eyes. Who is he? I asked. Who? The man in the hallway. The man who's been here every night. The man who paid $139,000 for my surgery. The man named Walter Kendrick. My mother's face went white. Sylvia, listen to me. Is he my father? Silence. The kind of silence that answers the question for you. Mom, is Walter Kendrick my father? My mother's eyes filled with tears. It was 1992, she whispered. I was young. I made a mistake. A mistake? I loved him. God help me, I loved him. But he was nobody back then. A junior engineer. No money, no stability. And then his company sent him to Singapore for 2 years. No warning. He just vanished. She sat down heavily in the visitor chair. I was pregnant. I didn't know what to do. Gilbert had proposed already. He had a house. He had a steady job. He was safe. So you married him. I had to make a decision. I had 6 weeks. I chose security. I chose stability. You chose to lie. I chose to survive. Her voice cracked. Do you know what it was like? Being 23, pregnant, alone? Walter was gone. I didn't know if he was ever coming back. Gilbert was there. Gilbert would never leave. I stared at her. And when did Walter find out? When did he find out about me? She looked away. He came back 2 years later. But by then, you were already a year old. I was married. I told him. I told him to stay away. I told him you were Gilbert's daughter. I told him he had no rights. Did he believe you? I made him believe me. I threatened to call the police if he contacted me again. I told him I would destroy him. I felt sick, and he stayed away. For 20 years. Then, I don't know how, but he found out. Maybe he did a DNA test. Maybe he hired someone. 10 years ago, he started reaching out through lawyers, through intermediaries. He wanted to meet you. I refused. You refused. I told him you had a family. You had a father. You didn't need him confusing your life with ancient history. Ancient history. I laughed. It hurt my chest. Mom, you've been punishing me my entire life. Now I know why. What are you talking about? Every time you looked at me, you saw him. Every time I succeeded, you hated it. Because I wasn't supposed to succeed. I was supposed to be your shameful secret, your mistake. But I kept reminding you of the man you threw away. My mother's face twisted. That's not true. You made me pay for everything. Literally. $187,000 in 7 years. Every time Brittany needed something, you called me. Every time there was an emergency, you called me. Because punishing me was easier than admitting what you did. Sylvia. And the worst part? My voice was shaking now. The worst part is that all this time, there was a man out there who wanted to be my father, who paid for my college without telling me, who invested in my company just to be close to me, who stood outside my hospital room for 3 hours because he was afraid he didn't have the right to come in. I pointed at the glass door. That man has been here every single night, and you were in Hawaii. My mother opened her mouth. I didn't have a choice. You had a choice, I said. You always had a choice. In 1992, you chose to lie. Last week, you chose Hawaii. You chose Brittany. You always choose everyone except me. Sylvia, please, get out. What? Get out of my room. Go home. Tell Gilbert the truth. He deserves to know. Tell Brittany she's not getting $25,000. And don't come back. My mother stood up slowly. You can't mean that. I looked at her, at this woman who had carried me for 9 months and spent 32 years trying to forget I existed. I spent my whole life trying to earn your love, I said. I paid your bills. I funded your vacations. I gave you everything you asked for, and you still chose to let me die alone. I nodded toward the door. Now I'm choosing someone who chose me. My mother left. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't apologize. She just walked out, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. I watched her go through the glass door, and then I watched someone else walk in. Walter Kendrick, 63 years old, silver hair, blue eyes, my eyes. He stopped in the middle of the room, about 10 feet from my bed, close enough to see me, far enough to give me space. Neither of us spoke. The monitors beeped. The fluorescent lights hummed. Outside somewhere, the hospital continued its endless rhythm of codes and charts and life and death. In here, it was just the two of us, and 32 years of silence. I don't know where to start, he said finally. His voice was deeper than I expected, steady, but with a tremor underneath, like a man holding back a flood. Start with the glass door, I said. The first night. Why didn't you come in? He looked at his hands. Because I didn't know if I had the right. 32 years. I watched you from a distance. Your high school graduation, I was in the back row. Your college graduation, I watched the live stream from my office. Your MBA ceremony, I sent flowers, anonymously. Every major moment of your life, I was there, but always outside, always behind the glass. He looked up. That first night when I came to the hospital and saw you through that window, tubes everywhere, machines beeping, so still, I thought, this is my daughter, and I don't even know if she'd want me here. But you stayed. For 3 hours. I couldn't leave. I couldn't go in. So I just stood there, watching, making sure someone was there for you, even if you didn't know it. I felt tears sliding down my face. I didn't wipe them away. The scholarship, I said, that was you? Yes. 2012. I just found out about you. Hired a private investigator, got a DNA sample, confirmed everything. I wanted to help, but I didn't know how to approach you. So I created a scholarship fund, made sure you qualified. The investment in Evergrid, also me, 2021. When I saw you were working there, I put in $1.8 million. Not because I thought the company would succeed, though it has, but because I wanted to be close to you, even if you never knew. And the $139,000? He smiled slightly. That was easy. You were dying. Someone had to pay. You could have walked away. You could have let my mother deal with it. Your mother, he said the word carefully, has been dealing with it for 32 years. Dealing with it by treating you like a reminder of her worst mistake. Dealing with it by taking your money and giving you nothing in return. Dealing with it by flying to Hawaii while you were in surgery. He shook his head. I couldn't walk away. Not anymore. I have a question, I said. Anything. Your wife. Your family. Did you ever... I was married. For 15 years. Divorced in 2017. He paused. She said I was never fully present. That part of me was always somewhere else, with someone else. She was right. I was always with you, even though you didn't know I existed. No children? No, I couldn't. I already had a daughter, one I wasn't allowed to know. Starting over with someone else felt like betrayal. I absorbed this. You gave up your whole life for someone you couldn't even contact. No, I gave up certain things, but I built others. The company, the foundation, the investments. I told myself that even if I couldn't be your father, I could make sure you had opportunities, that you'd never be limited by money or circumstance. He met my eyes. I know it's not the same as being there. I know it doesn't make up for 32 years, but it was what I could do. What happens now? I asked. Walter took a breath. That's up to you. I've waited 32 years. I can wait longer. I can walk out of this room right now and never bother you again, if that's what you want. Is that what you want? No. His voice cracked, just slightly. I want to be your father. I want to know what you're reading, what you're thinking, what makes you laugh. I want to have dinner with you on your birthday. I want to be the one you call when something goes wrong. He paused. But I know I haven't earned that. I know you have a father, Gilbert, even if he's not your biological father. I know this is complicated and painful, and there are no easy answers. I looked at this man, this stranger who had paid for my education, who had invested in my company, who had stood outside my hospital room because he thought he didn't deserve to come in. Then I looked at the empty hallway where my mother had walked away. My whole life, I said slowly, I thought love was something I had to earn. I paid my family's bills. I funded their vacations. I gave them everything they asked for, and they still chose to let me lie here alone. I turned back to Walter. You didn't owe me anything. I didn't know you existed, and you still showed up every single night. I reached out my hand. Will you sit down, please? Walter walked forward. He sat in the chair beside my bed, the chair that had been empty for 5 days. For the first time in 32 years, he was there, beside his daughter. Finally, on the right side of the glass. I left St. David's Medical Center on November 26th, 2 days after my mother's visit. Walter drove me home. We didn't say much during the ride. There wasn't much to say. We had 32 years of conversations ahead of us. There was no rush. I signed the IPO documents via video call from my apartment. Evergrid went public at $14 per share. My stock options vested at $280,000. For the first time in my adult life, I had money that was truly mine, that no one could guilt me into giving away. Brittany's wedding was supposed to happen on December 6th. It didn't. Without my $25,000 contribution, the budget collapsed. Brittany tried to scale down, but her fiancé's family was embarrassed by the reduced circumstances. The engagement ended 2 days before the ceremony. My mother called me, left voicemail after voicemail. Sylvia, please. Your sister needs you. After everything we've done for you. I deleted them without listening past the first sentence. Everything they'd done for me. Gilbert Alvarez filed for divorce on December 10th. When he finally learned the truth that the woman he'd loved for 32 years had married him as a backup plan, that the daughter he'd raised wasn't biologically his, that his entire life was built on a lie, he didn't scream, didn't cry. He just quietly packed a bag and checked into a motel. He called me once, just to say, "I'm sorry I wasn't there more, Sylvia. I always felt like there was something I was missing with you. Now I know what it was. I hope you find what you're looking for." I wished him well. He was a victim too, in his own way. I met Walter for coffee on December 20th. It was awkward at first. We didn't know each other's rhythms yet. Didn't know if we took cream or sugar. Didn't know each other's favorite books or movies or memories. But we were learning. At one point, he pulled out his wallet and showed me the photograph. The one he'd been holding during my surgery. The one Amanda had seen him clutching like a prayer. It was my mother. Young, maybe 23, laughing at something off camera. "I took this in 1992, he said, 2 weeks before I left for Singapore. It was the last time I saw her happy. Last time I was happy." He put the photo back. "I carried it for 32 years, hoping I'd see that laugh again someday, hoping I'd find what I lost." He looked at me. "I didn't find her. I found something better. I found you." People say blood is thicker than water, but my blood family left me to die in a hospital room while they went to Hawaii. They took my money for 7 years. They treated me like an ATM with a heartbeat. And a stranger, a man I'd never met, stood outside my glass door for 3 hours because he was afraid he didn't have the right to come in. He paid for my education without ever asking for credit. He invested in my company just to be close to me. He paid $139,000 to save my life and asked the hospital to keep his name secret. Who is family? Is it the people who share your DNA but treat you like a burden? Or is it the person who stands outside the glass, waiting for 32 years just to be allowed through the door? My mother chose Hawaii when I was dying. Walter chose to stay every single night, even when he thought I'd never know. If you're in a family that treats you like a wallet, that takes everything and gives nothing. That makes you feel like you have to earn love that should be freely given. I want you to ask yourself, who is standing outside the glass door of your life, waiting to be let in? And who is already on a plane to Hawaii? The answer might change everything. 25.